we got some pretty serious discussion to talk about today. We are going back into our horror discussions with our movies, and we are going into the great franchise of Friday the 13th. Not my favorite horror franchise I've ever seen, but it's definitely in the zeitgeist of horror franchises that I love. Like I'm all about the slashers, all about Freddy, Jason, and Mike Myers. So excited that you brought this up for this Friday the 13th. Unfortunately, we did miss it, but we have our guest with us, Joe Carugati, over here, who's a big fan who brought this up. Joe, can you tell us a little bit about your love for Friday the 13th?
Sure. Well, first of all, hello everyone to the both of you guys. Thank you so much for having me on because, I've been watching you guys do this podcast and it's so cool. We all went to school together and stuff like that, and it's just been awesome kind of following along with your journey, post-college and what we do, which is film. So thanks for having me on, and truthfully, Joe, I hit you up about this probably a little bit a ways ago. I knew we had a Friday the 13th coming up this year. Getting into summertime is usually not the time that most people are like, let's watch a horror movie. Yeah, that comes towards the fall. And, if anyone thinks of like a summer horror flick, they're usually thinking I'm going to throw Jaws on or something along those lines. But Friday the 13th, similar to what you were saying, Joe, is like, it's never been my number one per se, like in terms of series. But as I got older, I kind of latched onto it a lot more. And Halloween was always like what I grew up with. Like that was my standard. And even like the shitty, terrible ones. Even the really stupid, shitty ones, like I still just was enamored by. But there's something that a lot of people these days don't know what they are, but mom and pop video stores used to be a big thing back in the 90s. And the horror section was like a weird rite of passage if you could get through it and not be terrified looking at the box art. And Friday the 13th had like the craziest ones. I mean, there was machetes through masks with blood all over it. And I'm like, what are these things? So growing up, I was never allowed to watch them. And if I did watch them, I snuck to a friend's house and we'd check them out. And I think the first time I watched it was Friday the 13th part 3, I believe, the first time he gets the mask, because I knew that was the one where he has the hockey mask. And ever since then, they've become comfort horror films. And especially during the summertime when the days are a little bit longer and I kind of want something at the end of the night to kind of bring out the spooky vibe before we get to the fall. Friday the 13th over the past few years, I'd say, has kind of become the ticket. And yeah, they're not great movies, like at all. They're really, you could talk, Sean S. Cunningham, who made the first one, even said this is a rip-off of Halloween, and somehow we now have 12 of these movies. We still haven't gotten to 13, crazy enough. But yeah, I was kind of talking to Joe about maybe doing an episode because I think it's sort of a fascinating series to talk about, and since the 13th did just come and pass, I thought we could have a discussion about it and see what you guys think.
I mean, Joe, when you were saying that, going to the video store and like seeing the hockey mask, I felt like that was such an iconic image, like for horror. Like when you're a kid and you're like first getting into horror, that hockey mask, like when we were growing up, I was like, it's like one of the first things. Every time I think of horror, I kind of go to Friday the 13th first, almost because the hockey mask, the machete, it's just like it's so iconic. So yeah, I totally agree. Like you, I think 3 was my first one because I was like, oh yeah, the hockey mask in that one, that's one we should watch. So the other 2, and then you were like, oh wait, there's 2 more. There's 2 there's previous films. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too because I still remember seeing the poster or the cover art for Final Chapter, and I remember like, oh, I guess the series ends at some point, and but I think next to it was also the Final Friday, which is like the 9th one, which I didn't know at the time, but I'm looking at both of them and I'm like, well, how can you have 2? And this is me at like 9 years old going like, which one's the final one? And
then you go Jason X and you're like, what the hell is going on here?
Where are we? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I remember, it's funny that you say that about the video store because I very specifically remember the Jason Goes to Hell poster on that one where it's got like a snake thing coming out of one eye and into the other.
That's amazing.
I remember that. It's so interesting because I remember specifically being enamored by the horror section because of the cover art, just like that. And I remember Chucky, it was a tough one for me. I used to have to kind of hide or kind of run by it quick.
Child's Play 2.
Child's Play 2
with the Jack in the Box.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
We all know it.
We all know that one was like...
We're all pantomiming the sister.
Yeah. Didn't want to look at it. Horrifying. Yeah.
So good.
Oh, man. That's hilarious. Yeah. I don't know what my first one was. Honestly, I don't know if I could say strongly either if I knew when watching Scream, if I knew the answer to that question that they ask in that movie on who is the killer in Friday the 13th and she gets it wrong, I don't know if I would have survived that, because at that point in my life, I think she was right, maybe.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I definitely saw Scream first before I started watching it, because Scream I think was 96, right? So like, and I was 7, so I probably rented Scream at like 9, and I really didn't get into the Friday movies and think until, because Scream referenced all of that stuff. So if you love Scream, you kind of did a deep dive of, well, what's Friday the 13th, what's Halloween, what's all of these things. So I'm with you. Yeah, I don't even know if I knew that, because once I did know that though, I feel like I didn't watch the original Friday the 13th for years, because I'm like, who cares if it's an old lady killing people? Like, I want the dude in the mask. You know, and I do feel like Friday the 13th is one of those series where the original is not the best. Like, you know, Halloween, the original is by far the best of that entire series. Nightmare on Elm Street, you could probably say the same thing, barring Nightmare 3 or like New Nightmare. Those are 2 solid movies. But
New Nightmare's great.
New Nightmare's awesome. I mean, it's basically Scream before Scream. But yeah, Friday the 13th, the first one's okay. And I feel like the series it has so many ups and downs, which we'll get into. But yeah, it's just one of those things where I think we all kind of got into it because the horror section, you know, what is that? There was nothing streaming, and you just kind of had to rent whatever the box art looked like and hoped it was okay. Yeah. And I think the fun thing about these movies are they always are nostalgic in the way that I feel like I shouldn't be watching these things. Like as a kid, it was always, this isn't for my young, you know, non-screwed up brain yet, and I shouldn't be enjoying this. But they were fun, spooky kind of campfire tales. And I think that's kind of why they've endured over the years, because they're just sort of fun and simple. None of them are convoluted, save for like 1 or 2 of them.
I mean, the first 4 you could argue are like all just like the same story.
It's the same movie.
Yeah, it's the same movie. And then 4 was like, okay, this is exactly how it should have been made, and there you go. That's the best of the first. I mean, in my opinion, the fourth one's the best.
Final chapter
is.
Yep. If anyone asks me, or not that people are coming to me say, which Friday movie should I watch? But if anyone ever said what Friday movie like distills the entire series down, I'd say put on 4. Mm-hmm. It's got everything you want from a Friday movie. Tom Savini, like just all of that stuff is like sort of just perfectly in that film. Yeah.
I also think it's the best one that kind of like balances the camp along with the, it also feels a little more serious with Tommy Jarvis. Also, you're introducing one of the, I think probably the most continuity based character in that series is Tommy Jarvis. I think he's in 3 movies. But I think
besides Jason, he's probably my favorite, right?
yeah, it'd have to be him. But yeah, I totally agree. I think the 4th one is by far the best and just like totally captures the essence of that whole series in one movie.
Agreed. And yeah, I think it's like you kind of almost have to do a rundown. Maybe we should do like a quick rundown of like what the movies are really quick, just because I feel like you could say 4, 6, 7, 8, like they do sort of all blend. 4, I definitely think is a very high point. 1, as we all know, is the simple someone's killing kids at a campground. Turns out it's Mrs. Voorhees, sorry.
Yeah.
Her son drowned, Jason, years ago. She gets killed at the end. Movie's over. There's no sequel. The movie made a shit ton of money. We're making a sequel. Jason is now alive. He's some redneck kind of like burlap sack. Don't have the hockey mask yet. In part 2, kills a bunch of new camp counselors. Great. They kill him. Part 3, he's back somehow the next day. He's got a hockey mask now. He kills a bunch of new camp counselors. 4, he escapes the morgue that they thought they put him in. He goes back to the camp, kills more people. And then it does the interesting thing, you're right, with Tommy Jarvis, who's introduced in 4, who's Corey Feldman. In the 5th film, they're like, well, we killed Jason. He's done. What do we do now? So now it's a copycat in 5, which probably has the most insane twist ending, because you don't even know what the twist is, because you don't know who the hell that guy is that's killing everybody. Then we go to part 6, where director Tom McLaughlin's like, I'm going to make it gothic, kind of fun, and now they resurrect Jason with a lightning bolt, Frankenstein style. Now we got undead Jason.
Yep.
Jason
Part
Lives
7,
is special. I think we have to acknowledge
Jason Lives
that.
is
I love
great.
Jason
Lives is a lot of fun.
Brought us back to form.
It's back. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's actually probably the best made movie in the series. Just it looks like a real film compared to like we shot this really fast to the rest of the series.
And I mean, the gore in that movie just is out of this world. Just so good.
Oh yeah, there's so many great deaths that are like, especially because he's undead. We can do the crazy stuff now. Yeah,
it's like bring every like bring in all the blood. I love that movie. That's what sears into my mind is all those gory kills in that movie.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and then 7, we're doing a ton of cocaine now in the 80s, and it's like, what do we do? We're gonna have Jason fight Carrie. So then they bring in a Carrie kind of. We're doing telekinesis. Sure, who gives a shit? Part 8, now he's going to New York, which he doesn't really go to New York. He goes to New York for the last 20 minutes of the movie. The rest of it's on a damn boat.
Worst title on the planet.
Worst title in the movie, in the series.
Yeah.
Part 9, Jason's going to hell. They kill him in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and now he's a demon slug that hops from body to body.
Yeah.
Okay. 10, we send him to space. Okay.
Finally jumped
the shark. And then Freddy versus Jason is the
big homage and
the big we did it.
The big fight.
And then the big fight, which is actually kind of sick. And then we got the reboot. From 2009, which that's the last one we ended on. So we ended at 12 films so far. They didn't get to 13, which is
it's like, come on. they're
it's right
holding
there.
that out. Yeah, they're holding out on us right now. It's like, come on, you got to do it sometime soon.
Yeah.
I think they're circling around a show too, which is kind of more disheartening because it's like, oh, are we going to get there?
Yeah, A24 I think is involved with Peacock, and they're doing it together. And Linda Cardellini of Velma, Scooby-Doo, she is Mrs. Voorhees.
Yes.
So
wow.
Well, with her involvement,
I'm interested.
I'm in. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good. It's amazing how it'll probably be this high austere type of like show now from some shitty, camp slasher series.
See how far we have come.
Yeah.
From
now it's elevated horror.
Yeah,
exactly.
See, this is why I respect Chucky so much, because they have just stuck to the same continuity. I mean, there was a remake, but then they continued afterwards still. I mean, I can't believe it.
Don Mancini, like, he's lived and breathed Chucky since 1988, and the fact that he's like, screw this, I'm going to make a TV show now that just follows the films. That series is on another level. The fact that they have been able to keep the continuity. Friday the 13th doesn't care.
I think that I mean, that's the difference though, is that we had one person with one singular vision for all of Child's Play and Chucky, and then Friday the 13th, so many people were involved in making all 12 of those films that it's just like you said, it's like we don't care. We're just making this movie because we got the IP, we got the name, and that sort. I mean, but again, there are obviously films that are well made in there. It's just like it's just interesting that Don Mancini having the vision for Chucky and Child's Play, I think, is like why it's like such a prolific, like everything is just awesome about it, because he's like the showrunner and the filmmaker that's behind everything with it. So kind of like Terrifier now is like, it's all all the one guy, one singular vision. So I think that's a very similar idea there, and they're all those films are awesome. So
yeah, the Terrifier films are insane.
They're absolutely insane.
Like I don't have many words for them. Like they're just on another level in terms of content, nasty content. But yeah, I mean, I think you're right. It's like that's also sort of the reason for me the Friday series has endured, though, is because it's kind of like a flavor of the month. If you want to watch one of them, it's like, what are you in the mood for?
Oh yeah.
Do you want this one that's kind of the goofy 3D? Do you want something a little bit darker? Do you want something more spoofy with part 6? Do you want them in space? Like, you can kind of take what you want, and that's why I've always kind of found them comfort watches, because if I just want something in that series, whatever mood I'm in, I could probably find something out of the 12 that's like, you know what, that's the vibe I'm going for right now, and I'll throw it on. So
absolutely. It's a good way to look at it.
I think the lack of seriousness in the series too also was really important in it, because it's what allows us to kind of connect to it and love it as much as we do, and also not hate it so much for making interesting choices. Like, I feel like the Halloween series has some sort of prestige to it that the fans will be angry about certain decisions any movie makes. But Friday the 13th, it's like you said, it's like you can send him to space and we will love it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Love it is a strong word, though. I would say we can accept it and just say, okay, that's fine.
I got something about Jason X in my notes that I think is I think I'm onto something.
Okay, I can't wait to hear it. I'm stoked.
Before we get into my points about why Jason X is so great. Can you tell me, aside from part 4, I think we all agree part 4 is great. What is some of your favorite films from the series, and what are some of your least favorites, and why?
Sure. I would say like top 3. I think 4 is definitely up there just because, as we said before, it basically takes the entire series and distills it down into like the characters, the kills, Jason as a whole. Like I think he's really scary in that one. I actually think they shoot him really well because they kind of hide him in the shadows for most of the film. And the effects, this is like kind of when the MPAA was still sort of okay with what was going on, because the whole thing with Friday the 13th was Paramount, these were like negative pickups. Like Paramount knew we were going to put these out in theaters, but the whole idea was we are not proud of these movies. Like, you can go shoot what you want, but we don't really want to deal with anything, so we just want the money. So they kind of let the first 4 movies, they were doing their own thing off in the woods. Whatever the movie was, that's what we put out in theaters. So like 4 still has like the really good Tom Savini effects and stuff like that, which are awesome. After that, I'd probably say 6 is up there. As you kind of mentioned before, I think both of you said Jason Lives just kind of has, it's a lot of fun. And it's the most like rock and roll 80s Jason, because we have Alice Cooper on the soundtrack. Everything's like a little bit higher elevated in terms of the look of it and just stuff like that. It's also a perfect movie where if you desaturate it watching on TV, it looks like one of those old Hammer horror films. And it's perfect. So I suggest doing that. And then I'd probably go part 2, just even though he's not wearing the mask. Part 2 is legit kind of creepy and has the best final girl in the series with Ginny. Who is like resourceful. I liked her whole psychiatrist or psychologist background, so she knows how to defeat him at the end. It's the one that also has really good characters, and I feel like that's sort of like my meter sometimes for these movies. Like what I like the most is like the people I can kind of latch onto, because let's face it, they're all fodder for sharp, pointy things going into them. So it's like if you can inject some sort of pathos and like humanity into any of these people, like I'll always appreciate that. So those are probably the top 3. Bottom 3, I'd probably say, sorry Joe, Jason X is I like it. I think it's fun. I do, but here's the thing, I don't hate any of these movies. Like I really don't. I think they're all kind of fun in their own way, but I think Jason X is kind of tough sometimes to watch. I think part 9 is Jason Goes to Hell, where he's a demon slug, is also kind of a hard watch. And I think The Boat, Jason Goes to New York is Jason Takes
8, 9,
Manhattan.
10.
8, 9, yeah, it's sort of the last of like the New Line. It's going from Paramount into New Line. It's just this weird era. And how about you guys?
I would say, aside from part 4, I think Jason Lives is one of them. I really like, A New Blood. I kind of like, and this actress just passed away, so I might be just feeling a little bit more nostalgic for that one right now, but I love a good psychic versus killer kind of thing. And I really enjoyed Freddy versus Jason. I don't care what anyone says. I thought some of the kills in that were awesome. I love I know they do change Jason. He's definitely not as aggressive in that one, but I love this whole kind of sad dog, like David Goliath thing they got going on with that one.
I was just going to say puppy dog. He's like a puppy dog in that Freddy versus Jason. He's got that one eye that just kind of droops the entire time. And you're kind of like, aw, like,
too bad for him.
I'm kind of rooting for him. Yeah.
I love with Freddy versus Jason though, like that he's like that the whole movie, and then when he's fighting Freddy at the end, it's like all everything falls to the wall, and he's just like arms are getting ripped off, like machetes flying, like so like it's like you go from he's like kind of like lumbering around the whole movie to like that, and also like the cornfield party scene too, like that just
great.
I mean, beautiful. There's just a lot of like moments in that movie, and I think also because that movie was made around when we were like kind of like teen preteens and stuff, that like kind of felt like, oh, this is the movie, this is the newer Jason that we're getting into, and also like the callback to it's like Freddy and Jason. Like, come on,
it's awesome.
You had me there.
It's also, to your point, Mike, it might be the most early 2000s movie ever made. Like, absolutely, the colors, the new metal on the soundtrack,
that like staccato frame rate, drop frame rate thing they did at the end.
The Gladiator slow motion, all of it. I'm just like, you watch it now, and it's almost more of a time capsule movie than the 80s Friday the 13th movies. I'm like, I know when this film was made. Yeah, but
so you got like the blood that's like being slashed on, and that's like what's making the titles like of the opening credits.
Go over the. Well, They definitely watched Kill Bill because this came out in 2003. Because all the blood in that movie sprays like a jet hose out of everyone. Like, and it actually makes that noise too. It's just everywhere. But I love it. It's goofy fun.
But I mean, Jason X 2, again, I guess because it was the one right before, Freddy vs. Jason, I kind of do have a little bit more of a soft spot because, like the liquid nitrogen kill, I love that. That's one of the best kills in the series. So like
that's my whole point about Jason X. I'm gonna say that, and the homages to the other things, like with the sleeping bag kill, and just acknowledging how silly it was.
Yeah, that final confrontation in like the space station at the end, like that was really well done too. So yeah, there's like it had its moments like there where it's like like Joe said too earlier that like. If you know you're jumping, we know what movie we're watching here with Jason X, you're in the mood for it. It's like it's such great, it's such great film to watch, and Jason in space too is such a.
when the android says, "I'm gonna have to hurt you now," come on, they knew what they were doing. They knew it was that bad.
I also love that she becomes a warrior robot chick to fight him, but she puts on like a dominatrix outfit for some reason. Like she doesn't gear up or put like safety equipment on. It's like, no, I'm going to dress like Trinity from the Matrix, but with less clothes.
Right.
Sure.
What a weird choice. Oh my gosh.
That whole movie's a choice, but like, trust me, like I said, I just bought the 4K from Arrow for Jason X for some stupid reason because I need to see it in 2160.
In 4K now.
Yeah. It really adds something to the experience. Well, it's funny too, just to finish up on Jason X, because I was watching the 4K, my fiance now, but she's on the computer next to me and I watched a ton of shit and she's just sitting there watching, and when he re-enters Earth's atmosphere at the end with the other guy and like they turn into a comet, I saw her brain, like she was doing work and she kind of just looked up and was like, what is happening? Like, what
are you watching?
What is this? What is going on? And I was like, honestly, I don't really have a good answer for you. It's Jason X.
You got a minute for me to explain this?
Yeah. Haven't you been watching? She's like, I've been watching, but Jesus Christ, like how? Like,
how do we get here?
Honey, we're recording a podcast about this soon. Just listen to that. You understand everything.
Exactly. So yeah. So yes, Jason X does have a place for sure.
Oh man, that's hilarious. You know which one is actually my very least favorite out of them is A New Beginning. I hate the fifth one. I hate Tommy Jarvis in that one because he doesn't talk at all, and I think everybody, and it's kind of annoying. There's a younger kid running around who's screaming and he's annoying, and the fact that it's not Jason, it just kills me.
That's true too. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I just rewatched Part 5 for this whole thing. That is the most cocaine-fueled one, for sure. Like, first of all, the director of that movie directed softcore porn before he did it, and you can tell, because it's the sleaziest of the entire series.
Yeah.
And the plot makes no freaking sense. The guy who's the copycat Jason, he's murdering everybody, right? Because his son died from that one guy. Wouldn't you think he'd go after the guy who killed his son, but instead he goes after literally everyone else that had nothing to do with the son's murder? Like,
it's really glad my son died, man.
It's so bonkers, and the characters are so wild that like I watched it with a smile. I was like, this is the stupidest movie I've ever seen. But kind of like what you were saying, Joe, it's like I kind of just enjoyed it because it's so cracked out. Like the editing choices, the way like anytime someone gets whacked over the head with something, they like zoom in on their eyes, like bugging out. It just it feels like an EC Comics film kind of come to life because the colors are very garish and neon. I can appreciate it, but it's also a piece of shit. So I totally get it. And the actor that you were mentioning who plays Tommy Jarvis, he got that. He was like going to be a pastor when he was doing that movie. And when he got the role, they didn't, they never titled it because they wanted to be non-union. It was titled Repetition. So he signed on for the movie because he thought this was like some really deep film. He went to like mental institutions to like learn about his character, and then he showed up on set and the guy went walking by in a Jason mask and he was like, oh my god, I'm in a Jason movie. And I thought, oh my god, like I thought this was like going to be this big deep film. They're like, no, you're just some guy who's going to beat him up at the end. He's like, okay, great. So
oh my god, that's hilarious.
Wow.
Yeah, it's sad that I know all this shit. Yeah, be proud.
I wonder if he was okay that he wasn't talking. I wonder if that had any like benefit to it, that he has no lines in the whole movie.
He probably walked. He actually went back to the church after that film. I think he realized Hollywood wasn't for him, so he's still a pastor, I think, or like some a priest somewhere. So good for him. He survived. Yeah, in more ways than one. That series. Yeah.
Well, we already talked about it a little bit with Jason X, and that was the whole reason I like it was the face smash kill. I think that's one of the coolest kills of the whole series, and I think with any horror franchise, you have to know what the favorite kills are of each film or what your favorites are of the franchise. So do you guys have a couple of favorite kills from the franchise you'd like to chat about?
I'm kind of partial to. I mean, I know it's like really early on in the series, but I kind of like Kevin Bacon's kill, and with the just the way that one was done, and just like it, again going back to the simplicity of the earlier films. It's like just. It's simple, but it's also like kind of like it takes you off guard a little bit, and the effects were pretty good, especially considering. So
yeah, because I think the Kevin Bacon one was like sort of the flagship one for that series when it first started, and you got to keep in mind when this came out, Halloween, as we all know, was pretty bloodless. So it was like Texas Chainsaw. Like there's no overt like gore. And so Friday was very different in that it's like, oh no, we're going to show you all this stuff. And that one, especially, the Kevin Bacon one is still pretty graphic for a movie that was made in 1980. And then,
he sold it really well too, like his face and everything. Like super
it's a great
solid
effect.
Great
effect.
Everything worked there with that. And
just it also works because of the misdirection of that scene, right? Like the blood from above. So you're kind of going, the whole thing is going to be like on top of him or something, and it still kind of makes me jump every time the hand comes up and grabs his head. So good. So that's a good one. Part 2 I think has the machete. This sounds terrible to say it, but like the machete to the poor wheelchair bound.
Oh, he goes down the stairs.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that first. Oh my god.
And it just
that wasn't right.
I think it's in this.
I think it's in this compilation. It might actually be this one that we're watching right now in the background.
Oh, is that?
I got the Jason kills in the background going, and
that's awesome. Yeah, he's about to get it right in the face. That one always, because again, it's the setup though, right? And I feel like a lot of the deaths I like, it doesn't have to do so much with the splatter of it all. It has to do more so with just the build up. And this one, he's about to get it. Yeah, and this is so great because you think you see it go into his face, but it's the reverse cut where it's already there. So
yes,
here we go. Shoot, yep. And so you've seen it.
Yeah, and
it's brilliant. And now he goes rolling down the stairs. Yeah, this is something we shouldn't be laughing about, but it is hysterical. So I think that one's fun. I think everything in the first 4 is pretty solid just because it's more sort of real based, like because he's not the undead version yet. Right. Part 3, even though it's goofy as hell with the 3D,
the eyes thing where he squeezes
the eye when it pops out is so janky looking, but like you can't help but just be like, this is charming in some way. Like
the eyes though too.
Weird to call it. Oh yeah, just the way you can see the rod. It's so bad, but it's also so kind of awesome. Yeah. Was that the spear gun in 3? Where the spear, when he first gets the mask, right? And he shoots her in the water.
Oh, yeah, shooting the spear in the eye. And then he does that walk.
He does that saunter. He just throws the thing down. It's like, all right.
The dock.
Yeah. It's fun, Joe, what about you? What kills besides the liquid? Because that one's an all-timer.
That's an all-timer. I don't know why I always like the handstand kill, and I think that might be the third one as well. I just thought, what a setup that he's walking on his hands like the entire time you see this guy, and like that's how he's gonna go. So I don't know why that one always sticks out. But another big one that I loved, and then I know I'm singing Freddy vs. Jason's praises, but the first kill of Jason in the bedroom, that kind of jerk boyfriend, where he doesn't, he's like he gets him from behind, and then he folds the bed off. Oh my god. Great, that was kill.
That I remember that sticking with me when I was a kid. Like that guy getting like just the machete, and then all of a sudden you're like, this guy's fucking dead, and then it just folds the bed, and the guy's like,
because his beer is like still going, right? So he knows he's still alive. So he's like, all right.
Oh my god, that was I remember. Yeah, I remember like watching the movie as a kid. That kill stuck with me too. Yeah. definitely.
Freddy versus Jason is kind of underrated, I think, in the kills department. Like because the cornfield alone has
the machete through the flaming machete.
Machete,
where he
but
throws
also doesn't he twist the dude's head like
Oh,
really
yeah.
comically? Where
They-
he's
sound design
he
for
does
that.
do that.
awesome, and I love he just pushes him over and the body's like backwards. Yeah,
I think the problem with Freddy
goofy.
vs. Jason is that Freddy's only got one kill in the entire movie. That's the problem people usually have with it, is it's very unbalanced. Jason's is great, but Freddy's got nothing.
Is that true? Oh, that is true. That is, yeah. Because
Got the Freddy's back guy, and that's it.
Yeah,
yeah.
the kid from the kid from Snow Day or something like that? Yeah,
Yes.
He, I think it's him, right? Yeah, it looks like him. You know what's interesting about Freddy versus Jason though is like, even though I agree that he doesn't kill a lot of people, that movie still feels more like a Freddy movie than it does a Jason movie to me. Like, because the whole thing is he's orchestrating it, and that movie's as perfect as a Freddy versus Jason movie will ever be. Like,
I think, because they each play to their strengths, I guess, because Freddy's doing all the master manipulating, and then Jason's the big dog who's just going to kill people.
Brute
like that.
force.
He's doing his job, and he fits into the story well with that. And then, Freddy's
Yeah.
doing his thing by being, conniving and thinking about the whole thing and the greater plan kind of thing.
I watched a couple of things on the background of how that film was made, and like the hell that it went through, the many versions that it went through to get there, and the nightmares and by nightmares I don't mean like in a good way. I don't mean like a good horror movie. The crap we almost got. I agree. I think it's the very best version of it that we could have gotten.
yeah, there was a ton of terrible ideas to put them together in a series. And the fact that, the tease at the end of Jason Goes to Hell, where his hand comes out, was apparently a fluke. That was just the director being like, oh, I've got access to the claw. Like, I'm just going to do that. And then it spurred this entire what if. They definitely wanted to do this back, because the whole thing with Jason 7, the New Blood, the reason they went the Carrie route was because they actually wanted to do Freddy versus Jason back then. The problem was Jason was Paramount and Freddy was New Line. It wasn't until they got both together we're like, oh, we could actually start playing with the props, like doing things like that. But then it took 10 years from Jason Goes to Hell until Freddy versus Jason to even, what I mean? So there was still like a huge gap. And in that time, like Joe said, so many awful ideas that would have, like, a boxing match in hell, like where they're like duking it out.
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Sure, I guess.
Yeah. A lot of Pinhead related inclusion.
A lot of
well.
Pinhead
They kept
stuff.
trying to figure out him in there somehow.
Yeah, and Ash too from Evil Dead. They were like, how do we do Ash versus Freddy versus Jason, which actually could have been a dope kind of movie. Maybe not. Maybe that would have been the worst idea possible. But yeah,
I was actually curious of who you guys would think would be a natural third, because I think Ash is a great idea.
I would say yes, only because I think if you just had three titans of horror kind of duking it out, it gets a little like, what are we doing now? And even Freddy versus Jason, like, I think the fight scenes are actually really good. Like, some of the build-up's a little wonky, but once they just start hammering each other at the end of the movie, it's a lot of fun. But also, after they've sliced each other up for the umpteenth time, you're like, oh wait, these guys can't die. So you're just watching two dudes whack each other with swords essentially for 20 minutes. So I don't know if you added like Michael Myers, I don't think it works. I think it's kind of a boring idea.
Yeah, I'd say like I guess this is like left field, and like similar to Michael Myers, but maybe a little bit more fun. Could be like, I guess maybe Leatherface. Like if they Freddy vs. Jason goes to Texas, and then like
I'd watch that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, something
like,
different. I think Michael's too similar to Jason to be like,
you gotta like do a little bit like a
silent
fun, like different setting, or kind of like a Jason X style, where it's like we're in space. No, now we're in Texas, and
we're in Texas. Sure,
I like to see like a Hannibal Lecter or something, or someone a little bit more, someone a little less like horror icon, but he's still a horror icon. But I feel like there's a lot you can do with him, like more cat
Freddy
and
and
mouse.
him team up to do something with Jason, like to do something, because like I feel like Hannibal Lecter also is very intelligent and not as like silly as Freddy, but like definitely more like intellectual than, and then Jason's the brute force there. So I mean I think that's also why Freddy's versus Jason worked too, because you had like the smarter quick-witted Freddy, and then Jason is just a silent killer. So again like to Joe's point earlier, Michael Myers is silent killer as well. So
what are we talking about? It's like what are we
doing with that? They're just gonna meet and be like
Well, so you can't have like a coffee scene from Heat where like Michael and Jason are sitting across from each other. And it's like, oh, they finally meet. It's just them kind of looking at each other for about 20 minutes, and it's like, okay, well,
Both
I
have
guess a lot was
masks.
said there.
We're probably gonna get Megan and Chucky. They're both owned by the same people now, and they're both pumping things out like crazy.
See,
I don't
that
see why
could
we
be
wouldn't.
a bit of fun.
That could be interesting. At this point with streaming, just do it. Like what? At this point, I feel like horror movies. I mean, horror movies are actually still really profitable. I feel like 28
Probably
years
the most
came out. Like,
profitable.
yeah, I was gonna say like everything's still doing pretty well there. So it's like just do it. I'm sure people will show up in droves to go see whatever the hell that is, at least for the first weekend. But yeah, I just want to follow up really quick on 2 more kills that I love before I forget.
Let's hear it.
One is in part 4, and it's Crispin Glover when he gets again, it has to do mostly with the build-up, but it's him looking for the corkscrew, and when he just keeps saying, "Where the hell is the corkscrew?" and it gets jammed into his hand.
Yep.
And then there's the awesome cleaver to the dome, and it looks legit horrifying. That one's great. And then in part 9, it was actually a reshoot, and you can only see the best part of it in the unrated cut. But when it's the 2 campers are off in the tent, and the girl gets the sign through her stomach, I guess.
Oh yeah.
And he yanks it up.
Yeah.
And she just does it's like a taco falling apart.
And the guy's like, ah!
Yeah, the guy's just, but that's K&B. That's Nicotero and Bergen. That's like one of their like first, I think, films. So it just looks amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
This is a very sick conversation we're having.
Best kills.
I saw bits and pieces of the remake. I never saw the whole thing of it. I think I saw like the first like 15 minutes of it. But what'd you think of that? How they leave us off?
Well, Mike, did you see the remake?
I did. I saw that one in theaters, and I think that's the only. And not. I mean, I remember being like pretty decent. And like that's my overall opinion of it. But I just never got around to watching it again. So maybe it's not worth the second watch. So like I would say, Joey, you should definitely watch it. But from what I remember, I liked how quick they made Jason. I feel like a lot of like in the earlier movies, like the way we know Jason is very like he's like foreboding presence, but he's very big and he just kind of like walk slowly, intimidate, that kind of thing. In the remake, they made him very fast, and he's like very like quick with his actions, and he's like all of a sudden he's in a different place, not like teleporting, but like he's like able to get to places very quickly, and he's like almost like and it was like that era of like the late 2000s to like early 2010s where they were making everybody very like real, as real as they could be kind of thing, where it felt very like he's like an actual like he's like a quick and able-bodied killer. Like he's able to get and because like a lot of the forgettable characters in that movie were like the the athletes, the jockey people, so like they'd be able to run away, right? Like if you had a slower killer. But I think that's just one of the things that stuck in my mind is like he was a very fast actions, and he did a lot of that kind of stuff fast. But again, I only saw the film once, so when I was in 2009 when I was 18 I saw the film. So it's been a while since since I've seen it. I wouldn't mind watching it again just to get like to see if my opinion still holds up. Joe, have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it again, unfortunately, multiple times.
You're the one who could actually form a full opinion here.
Yeah, well, it's funny because I saw it in college, 2009. I went to go see it with Mark Knapp. This was also we didn't have cars yet, so I think we had to take the bus to like North Haven to go see it.
Oh, wow.
And I will say the opening 20 minutes is like its own little short film, which I really thought was cool. Like the title card doesn't come on until like 25 minutes into the movie. And to the point where like once the opening section is over, you're kind of like, what else? Because they basically do a short film version of what a Friday movie is. What I did like about it was that it was basically the first 4 movies kind of condensed into one. Like the prologue was Mrs. Voorhees in black and white getting her head wept off. So you're like, all right, that's the first movie out of the way. The first act is then him wearing the sack. So it's like, there's part 2. And then part 3 is he gets the mask like halfway through, and the rest of it goes. My main issue with it is, and this is kind of the issue with a lot of those remakes that were coming out that time, and sort of what you were saying, Mike, like it has to be more real. Like it has to be more, just the look of it has that sort of sickly green, like orangey tint to it that every time I see it, I just kind of go, like it looks like the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot. It looks like the Halloween reboot.
Yeah.
And it's like we had to make everything look super contrasty and like everything. If something's dark, it's dark.
Yeah, almost like the Rob Zombie Halloween's kind of like where it was a little.
Yeah, or it happened. Texas Chainsaw had the reboot in 2003,
Yeah,
and they basically said that worked so well, just do that now for all the rest of them, because it's the same cinematographer from Texas Chainsaw 2003, who was actually the
makes a
same
lot of
cinematographer
sense.
for the original Texas Chainsaw, which is like awesome that he got to work on both.
That's cool.
That is pretty sick.
But what I did like about it was what you said, Mike, that the whole him being super fast, they sort of explain it that there's tunnels underneath the camps. So they get around the teleporting angle of like, how's he here? How is it there? Because he would just like hop down a hole and go running across while everyone else was. So I kind of dug that. And there's like the trip alarm, so he knows like where everyone's running. It's cool.
Interesting.
I don't think it's amazing, but
it tries to ground it in a way to be real, more real.
Yeah,
It's
not a waste of time. Like I would say, definitely go check it out, Joe. Like it's fun. It's fun.
Well, you know,
It's
even
got some
hearing
good
this
deaths.
though, like hearing the tunnels, that sounds creepy. Like that's like that exists even, and it's like answering a question I would never have thought to ask. But I think that's pretty clever. I kind of want to check it out right now.
There's also a scene too where like he, well, I don't want to spoil it actually, Joey, if you want to actually get a good viewing of it, because I could go into one of the things. Jason feels a little more. I would just say he feels a little more like he's a little more calculated than he's ever been.
Really cool.
Where it's like
I know what you're saying, Mike.
Yeah, one of the kills is like a setup, and so I don't want to, again, for our audience members too, I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it. I mean, we are kind of spoiling most of the movies by just talking about a lot of the kills and stuff.
We spoil here,
especially
because
Joey's said explicitly he hasn't seen it.
Well,
It's
I hate to
fine.
say it, and this goes to you too, Joe. The movie came out 15,
Oh,
16 years
that's
ago,
true.
so it's also one of those things where if you haven't seen it by this point, no one can really get that upset. Like, I'm
It's
gonna
totally
watch that
fine.
movie
Plus,
tomorrow.
it's the 12th movie. I mean, come on, I'll get to it eventually.
Yeah, it's worth checking out. I wouldn't say it's gonna.
Agreed.
It's not gonna blow your mind, but I do think it's one of the better of the remake stuff, because I really didn't like that era. I hated
the Nightmare.
Halloween.
The
I hated
Nightmare on
the
Elm Street
Nightmare. The Nightmare
sucked.
one is,
Nightmare
I think,
hurt.
an abomination.
Yeah, and the
well,
guy
this is a
who was Rorschach in Watchmen was Freddy too, and I was like,
Jackie Earle
kinda,
Haley.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like kind of
Yeah.
excited to like see. I was like, oh, well, that's a he's a competent actor, he played Rorschach well, and then I was like, I watched it, and I watched it, and like the next couple days I forgot it. I was like, what even happened in the movie? Is that forgettable? Where I was just like, what the hell happened in the movie?
So basic, and just
Yeah.
it's sort of a lot of those movies too. Like, I think when you look back, it's not just Friday the 13th, but even Halloween. You got to think about when they came out originally. Like Freddy, there's a lot of subtext there about like, obviously the parents don't believe the kid. Like, there's so much more there than just like what the remake became, which is like a guy with a claw who kills people. And you're like, okay, all right, like, sure. And Friday, I think the reason it's kind of endured, because like you said, Joe, it's like the plots are pretty simple and they're not getting bogged down in this, what's it really all about? It's like, these movies are about nothing. They were made to make cash, and like they're date night movies. You know what I mean? You forget about it the next day, but it's a fun time. Whoever you're seeing with, the guy, gal, they jump into your lap and it's like you have a great night. Like, that's the whole thrill of these things. They're sleepover movies. Yeah, I think that's why they have kind of stuck around for so long, because they're simple.
Especially the setting too is like, it's like camp counselors and teenage angst and teenage horniness and stuff. It's like, all the target audience is that those people are gonna watch this, these kids get killed, and then us. So no, I'm just kidding.
There's something I think you're hitting it's right on the head. It's like sort of, again, with Halloween, it's like it's suburbs, right? So you can kind of put yourself there. Nightmare on Elm Street, it's the little high school town. Okay, great. And then with Friday, it's like Innocence Lost. It's this idea of like, we're going off to summer camp where it's a little creepy, but it's also sunny out and it's beautiful. And that's kind of why I really did want to talk about it. It's like, I think it's summer horror that I love. I just love that sort of vibe. It's
absolutely.
cozy in a weird way.
Yeah, it's like your love of Jaws. It's a cozy summer movie. It doesn't matter if we're watching a big shark
We need 4
eating people.
podcasts to talk about that movie. But yeah, I just think it's one of those things where, and also the earlier ones now are sort of tame enough where they're kind of like good entryways into horror, I think, as well. They get a little bit nastier as they go along, but Yeah, they're just fun. That's all.
I think also the gore isn't like off-putting. It's like like again, like some of the kills, like especially like the head crush, and some of them can be a little more silly. So it's like not like today where like everything has to be like if it's a gory movie. Like I guess Terrifier is a good example where like that is like a bit it's extreme. And it's also, but you're like, it's extreme, but it's not like cartoonish or anything. It's literally like, horrifying violence and horrifying extreme violence. But, Friday movies, they're extreme, but they're like almost like, outlandish too. It's some, again, it depends on which movie you're watching, but, they are a little more accessible, like you said, Joe. Like, it's not like you're like in this, again, Terrifier is not for everybody, so,
No.
but like Friday could be very accessible for folks, especially, if you're watching the earlier ones, it's like, okay, the movie was made, 40 years ago. So, it has the effects to go with it. Except again, Kevin Bacon's kill. That one was, it's still, and it still holds up.
It's still up there, and there's still a few that make you definitely go like, oh, like they wince. But I agree with you. Okay, you have a 7-year-old son, right, Mike?
Yep.
Like, honestly, if I had a 7-year-old son, he's like, I want to watch like one of the old scary movies. I would be more afraid to show him Texas Chainsaw versus a Friday movie, just because even though Texas doesn't even has less gore.
Yep.
Texas is more like an endurance test of just, it's a lot. Like every time that movie ends, I want to take a shower and I want to like just have a cigarette, and I don't even smoke. But you know what I'm saying? Like I just sort of need to like mellow out. Whereas at least Friday has that sort of, okay, it's got the stinger music going with it's like the perfect archetypal stereotypical horror slasher film in that the beats and it's sort of comforting in that way. And I think as a gateway to horror, I think it's actually okay if you're like verse like 7 to 12, if they wanted to watch it, I'd be like, it's cover your eyes during the sexy bits, but but you can watch all the rest of the kills and everything. That's totally fine.
Like the real American way.
I feel like the seriousness of it too. It's not so heavy. There's something about it that there's a lightness to Friday the 13th as a series, where something like with Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where I really feel like you're living with the whole like what is going on in this town. It's almost like dealing more with the human side of it, where Friday the 13th, like, we're just having fun. Who cares?
Yeah, and, like, also, like, even, like, the foreboding, narrations in the beginning of the Texas Chainsaw, you almost, again, that one grounds it in reality, but in Friday, you're like, okay, this is just, some fun, fun slasher movie in the woods.
Go to sleep, it could be on in the background, and you're like, okay, like, I could do Texas Chainsaw is just, like, it's a lot, and you can feel the grime. Like through the screen. And I always feel like the Friday movies have felt like that's safe. Again, they're spooky. They've got some moments you might jump at, but at the end of the time, you're more like laughing and you're just having fun with it.
It's almost like a campfire story, like when you're at summer camp. You tell campfire stories. Totally. Oh, there's this killer named Jason Voorhees who comes through the woods. It's like that kind of spookiness versus you're not telling stories about a family with a chainsaw wielding.
Kids know who Ed Gein is or Ed Gein is. It's like it's like he was a real dude.
He made body parts.
There's a movie.
Lamps out of body parts. It's like Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm excited for Linda Cardellini. I'm a little nervous for the show or whatever the future of the franchise is to get a little self-serious, maybe a little bit too A24. But I mean, I don't know. I'm excited for it to still be going forward, especially since it's been so darn long since we've had the last one. But we've been going on for a little bit long here. So what are some closing thoughts on Friday the 13th for you guys?
Well, I just want to say thanks for talking about it. I know it's kind of not exactly what you guys always talk about, but I think it's one of those things where as we get along in like the horror and elevated horror and stuff like that, like we kind of forget about the series that we had sort of growing up and stuff like that. And while these movies are not great, they were never made for artistic value or anything of that nature. I just think they're worth a watch. And I do feel that, especially as it's a hot summer, whatever it is, I think they're the perfect like Friday night, you're in the mood for like kind of a fun spooky movie, throw in like one of the old ones, throw in one of the new ones, throw in Jason X, whatever you want. Just when you watch it, try, even if you weren't born during like our era and stuff like that, like just imagine what it was like to go to the video store, go down the aisle of films, look at all 12 cover art and be like, ooh, which one, like, I don't even know what that's about, but I'm going to give it a whirl. It doesn't matter where it matches up in the continuity, and just sort of sit back, relax, have some popcorn, have a beer, and have fun with it with your friends or with your partner. And don't think about it. Just escape a little bit from, the real horrors of the real world right now.
Joe, it's been so freaking great having you, seeing your face right there, and just talking about this stuff. Can you tell us just a little about what you're doing right now, where we can find some of your work, a little Schulberg, any of that? I don't know, whatever you can throw at us.
No, well, first of all, again, thank you, because I know you guys could talk about a million other things, so like truly it means a lot. Honestly, just to talk to you guys has been a great pleasure, and even outside of this, I would love to just kind of catch up and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, like I said, I'm an editor, a video editor out in Los Angeles. I've been freelance now for 1.5 years, and I cut everything from independent movie trailers to promos, sizzles, commercials, films, all that stuff. So if you want to stay up to date with me, my website, joecarugati.com, joecarugati.com, has all my work up there. So anyone can take a peek. But yeah, also if you guys ever need help with I feel like you guys can handle everything, but if you ever need an extra hand in the cutting room, just let me know. And yeah, like truly, it was a lot of fun doing this, and it was a pleasure just to talk with you both.
Absolutely, Joe. It's been a pleasure, and I think we're gonna have to make a Joe Carugati segment. We'll have to, have you on the podcast, in a recurring basis, and we'll just.
I'm
talk,
not doing
talk
anything.
Movies.
Just bring me in whenever you want.
My
just
God.
tag me in.
Please
Awesome.
let that happen. I would love that, and I would go to you for any kind of stuff, any kind of edits, my friend. Your edits are freaking fire. So. That's
well,
awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. And keep this going. Like truly, like I love watching you guys talk about just anything. So just keep this podcast going. It's a lot of fun.
Thank you, Joe. Really appreciate that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. We're gonna keep it going. We're gonna do our very best, right, Mike?
We're trying. We're trying.
I know. Easier said than done. Just keep doing stuff. But yeah, no, it really is a pleasure. And I think also for the whole QU community, I think it really means a lot. I probably speak for a lot of people. Like seeing you guys still following the dream and stuff like that, and being able to talk about it the way you do, it's really important to a lot of people. So it's awesome.
Thank you so much, Joe. I really appreciate that. So thank you everybody for watching the show. You know where to find us, and stay tuned for the next one.